Good morning, everybody. It's time for Midweek Motivation Live. This is Patrick Lee, your host. We're going to be talking about men and marriage, a little bit about toxic traits and some good traits today. The show actually, it says on the bottom of the screen, we're here to motivate you to success in every area of life. And one of the things I want to lead you towards success in today is a successful marriage. We're going to jump into it here in just a minute when I come back. Y'all stay tuned. And we are back here at the Downtown Tower Studios. I hope you are doing well today. We're going to jump into a topic most of you men don't want to hear about. But today we're going to be talking about men. I know a lot about men. I am one. I've been one for 59 years. And we're going to talk about marriage. People already jumping in watching the show. I'm already getting some loves up on the screen. I am sure those are coming from women. And they're like, thank God we're going to talk about men today. Well, maybe next week we'll talk about women and their role in marriage. Good morning, Mary. Already people tuning in and commenting on the show. Want to talk about some toxic traits in men today, and some there are some good traits. Hey, we're not all bad, right? Most men are great guys, but there are some things in marriage that we can do better. Correct? And I want to talk to you about some traits possibly that you may be experiencing in a marriage. Maybe you're the guy that's listening to this show and you may recognize some of these things in yourself. And it may be a way for you to move forward and learn how to become a better husband, a better man, father, teacher, leader, all of the things that as men we are called on to do. And I'm not a licensed marriage counselor. I will tell you that in the beginning. And I am successfully married, have been successfully married for over 33 years. So I think that gives me a little bit of room to speak. And I do have a little bit of gray in my hair, actually, a lot of gray in my hair. So maybe that gives me a little more room to speak as well as a father and husband for so many years. But most of my friends are around my age, but a lot of my friends are younger. Many that I have talked to and have friends that I mentor are divorced. And divorce, we know, and we cannot deny, has run rampant in the world, in and out of the church as well. Divorce is a lie from the enemy of your soul, the enemy of union and unity. And we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Yes, way younger. Cody says your friends are way younger and better looking. Have to admit that is true. But a lot of my friends are my age and also better looking than me, so that's okay. A lot of the guys I've been hanging out with lately, some of them that are older than me, and most of my friends used to be younger. And I like that. I've got some older friends now that have wisdom they can pour into me as well. So I like that. But my young friends, you guys know who you are. You're all better looking than me. And some of you successfully married and some of you not. So maybe some of you will get some help from this today, and people listening to the show on the World Wide Web. Midweek Motivation Live is now live on all major podcast platforms. Some of my friends quote that to me when I walk into the restaurant. I love that. Gina quoted that to me the other day. Now live on all major podcast platforms. You've got to get that out there. If you're listening on Stitcher or Spotify, Apple Podcast, any of those places that you get your podcast, you can look for Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee. You'll find my face on there. You'll know that it's my show. There are a couple of other shows called Midweek Motivation Live, Midweek Motivation, Midweek Motivational. So you'll find a lot of shows. You have to be specific when you're looking for mine. Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee. And so people are getting to where they have started memorizing some of these lines. And I love that. But this is one of the topics I wanted to talk about today: men and marriage. And many of my friends are married, many of my friends are not. And I've recently reconnected with some of my friends and have been able to give some marriage advice to them as well. Some phone calls, a lot of instant messenger messages late at night. A lot of people message me with marriage questions. My wife's driving me crazy. What do I do? And 90% of the time, the answer is found within the man, not the woman, just so you know. Um, Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that you enjoy listening. I hope to have something of value to add to everyone that listens to the show. So I want to talk about that. What traits in a man can be damaging to a marriage? And many of you right away can start throwing some of them out. You know, anger. Anger is a trait in a man that can be damaging to a marriage. A lot of us men have a hard time controlling our anger, and emotions are one of the first ones that I want to talk about. Is emotions in general. What traits in a man can be damaging to a marriage, and can those traits determine or give you a sign that you are entering into a dangerous season in your marriage? And over emotionalism or hyper emotionalism, hypersensitivity, is a definite red flag that you can recognize in your husband if he has been pretty emotionally stable for a long time. You always know what kind of a mood he's going to be in when he comes home, pretty much, and his mood swings are very, very, very small. Then that's healthy. But when a man's emotions get out of control suddenly, that's a number one sign that you're entering into a dangerous season. Something is going on. If your husband comes home or you come home to your husband and he is in a fit of rage, something had to have happened to set that off. If he's incredibly happy for no reason, I would say take that as a blessing, but there's got to be a reason behind that as well. Many men, when we go through seasons or experience things in our life that we don't understand, it causes us to have fluctuations in our emotions that we are not ready for. And sometimes they're healthy. Now, don't get me wrong, emotions are healthy. Okay. We have periods where we're incredibly happy. We go through periods where we're incredibly sad. My wife and I were watching an episode of a show the other night, and this guy's dad had passed away. My dad passed away 2 years ago, and my wife, it was just an emotional scene in this show that we were watching, and the guy just wished that he was able to listen to his dad one more time and get some advice on an issue. And it was the exact same emotion I was feeling at the moment, and it got to me. You know what I mean? It got me. And my wife looks over there at me. She's like, "Are you okay?" And she got a little emotional over the scene because we've both suffered a lot of loss in our life. She has lost a lot of parents, just recently lost her stepmom as well. So a lot of emotions have been flowing in our household for the last couple of years. We're used to it and we embrace that. But she could tell it got me. And she's like, "Are you okay, baby?" And I was like, I'm good. It's okay. It is what it is. And we love the emotion. We love the memory. We miss them. We suffer the loss, but we do move through that. And we keep those emotions in check, right? So when your man becomes overly emotional, there's got to be a reason. Is he suffering from, or is he experiencing a lack in his life that he doesn't understand? If something is going on in his career and he feels like he is out of control, his emotions will get out of check. He may become overly sensitive to everything that you say and can be set off very easily. And it's coming from a sense of insecurity. Not knowing for a man is one of the hardest things for us to experience, is not knowing, not understanding, not knowing what's happening next, being unsure in our future. Those things are crushing to a man, and it causes us to start becoming more emotional. We can become very happy, overly happy for certain things. And if it's over happiness over something that's very simple or trivial, that's usually a man covering up the fact that something else is going on in his life, and he's trying to cover up the fact that that is happening. So he becomes overly happy to try to mask what's really going on in his life. Now, if you, your husband, or if you as a man become overly angry for no reason, there's something that's setting you off. And I will use this statement. I will add this to every one of the topics we talk about today. If your emotions get out of control, you need to talk it out or get help. And as we go into these other topics we're going to talk about, if you find that you're experiencing these and it's out of control, anytime you are out of control, you need to get someone else to come in and get involved and help you. You need to seek assistance in that. If you cannot control your emotions, if you cannot control your moods, mood swings are normal, and we do experience them. We are supposed to have periods in our life of happiness, of sadness, of anger. But we are, as men, we have got to be able to keep those under control. The next one I want to talk about is narcissism. And I've actually done an entire show on narcissism about a year ago. And I would recommend you go back and watch that show for a deeper dive on narcissism. But it's a toxic trait that many men suffer from. And I do say that word on purpose. Men suffer from narcissism. There are women that are narcissistic, but predominantly narcissism is a trait that affects men more often, because men are counted on to be the leaders in the relationship. Scripturally, the man, and I've discussed this lately with numerous people, friends of mine, that have gone through this. I have made posts in the past about it, about narcissism. And the narcissist generally creates a damaged woman, and how that needs to be corrected. It needs to be fixed. You need to get help if that's something that you are suffering from. But many men who are narcissistic go around telling everyone that their wife is crazy, the crazy old lady, or my wife, she's just crazy. Or they go and talk to their friends about their wife, or your girlfriend, and you just say that she's crazy. 99% of the time, you made her crazy because of your narcissistic attitudes. Everything is about you, and if it's not about you, you try to make it about you. Everything is about your way. You are smarter. You are better than they are. You're the more attractive one in the relationship. You're doing everything for them, and they are doing nothing for you. None of your friends like you. These are things that they will say. Your friends tolerate you. You're whiny. You have daddy issues. How many of you have ever said that to your wife or your relationship partner? Have you ever said that? You have daddy issues. Are you kidding me right now? Hey, Pete, this show is not about you, just so you know. You have to get that out of the way. But yeah, if these are the kind of things that you are experiencing and saying to your wife, you are definitely suffering from narcissism, and you need to get help with that. There are many counselors out there that can help you. So narcissistic tendencies in men run rampant frequently, because as a man, well, thank you, Pete. That's good. Pete just says, I have said that before. And these are the things that the reason the show is here is for us to recognize these things and become better. If you talk that way to your spouse, you really have a narcissism problem, and you need to get help with that. Everything is not about you. You are in a partnership relationship, and your wife is your helpmate. I have talked about this recently, before I just jumped on this rabbit trail. with numerous people about a healthy marriage. And I will not sit here and tell you that my marriage is perfect. My marriage is great. My marriage is fabulous. Could it be better? Always. Ask my wife. She will tell you. We will talk about a couple of my problems here in a minute. But I want you to get help with this. I want you to recognize areas where we can do better. Okay. And narcissism, if you are a narcissistic person, you seriously need to recognize these traits. It's not all about you, it's about both of you. You are not better than your partner. You are both better together, not apart. The Bible says that the wife is to submit to the husband, as is his role. Before the Bible says that, it says, men, love your husbands and give yourself to them as Christ loved the church. So I have said this many times, and I will continue to say this. When you, as a man, become the kind of man that loves his spouse in the way that Christ loved the church, it will become easier for your wife to submit to you, because a real woman, wants to submit to a man that loves her unconditionally and gives himself to her. When you have given her everything that she needs as a woman, when you are taking care of her security, when you are making her feel secure, when you are taking care of her financially, emotionally, and even intimately in the ways that she needs to be, that it becomes easy for her to submit to you as a leader. And you bring her alongside of you as your helper, and you become the power couple together. You in leadership, as is your rightful place, and her as your submission partner, but partner. And it's because when she submits to you and follows your leadership as you love her, you get in agreement. And when the two of you are in agreement, the powers of hell cannot defeat you. You become successful and move forward into everything in life that God has for you. Get that. Okay? I let that sink in. The Bible says if a man can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. The devil knows that, and he wants to use it against you. He wants to separate you from your partner, because in agreement, there is power. If you get out of agreement, your power goes away. It's cut down very, very much. The next thing I want to talk to you about is past emotional baggage. Ugh. How many of you are dragging old relationships into your current relationships? How many of you are in a relationship now, and every time the emotions rise or a disagreement comes up, you bring up the past? That's one of the number one ways to ruin your relationship, is this unwillingness to give up past damage, past hurts, past relationships. These things are incredibly damaging to you. And number one, they slow you down. It's hard for you to climb a mountain or move forward with speed if you're dragging all of this baggage with you. Many of you have failed marriages. I get it. Everyone I know besides my parents and me in my family just about were divorced. And I'm not saying my family had a curse of divorce, but we had I don't know if you want to call it a curse, but there were certain instances in nearly everyone I know in my family's life, other than my oldest sister. My oldest sister, and wow, we've talked about that before. My oldest sister was brutally murdered over 20 years ago. So she was not divorced, but divorce has affected nearly everyone in my family and most of my friends, and probably yours as well. Every one of you knows divorced people or someone who has been divorced. But the secret to this is we can always move forward after divorce. Divorce isn't the end of our life. Come on. We also all know people who have successfully gotten remarried and had a wonderful relationship after divorce. But the best way to do that is to eliminate the past relationship baggage that you carry with you. Until you're willing to let that go, it's hard for you to move forward in success and peace and love with your new spouse. If you use any past hurt, past damage, past relationship trauma as an excuse for you to be a bad husband, That's not good. You need to get help with that. And number one, you need to get help from your spouse. Okay. And we'll go into that as part of this. When you have past relationship baggage, usually your new spouse does too, right? And you have taken this vow before God and man to love, honor, respect, obey, cherish, all of those words, right, that come up in the marriage vows. And that means that you are joined together with your spouse. What God has put together, let no man tear asunder or put asunder. No one is to get in between you and your spouse. So the number one person you need to talk to about this baggage is your spouse. You need to confess the baggage. And hopefully, you guys did this before you got married if you recognize that you had past relationship baggage. And it may be your first marriage and it was past girlfriends, past fiancés. I will confess, I was engaged 3 times before I got married, and all 3 of those engagements ended. Thank God they ended. I used to tell my friends growing up that they would never be successfully married, and I could easily be successfully married to anybody because I was such a great guy. How big was my head at that time? I thought, you know what? I'm such a peace lover and an easygoing guy. I could make a marriage work with anybody. And then I actually got engaged to a couple of girls and realized how wrong I was. Some of my friends did end up exactly in the kind of relationship that I predicted. And they did end in divorce and fighting like cats and dogs. And many of you know people like that. Hopefully, it's not you. If it is, this show is for you today. If you fight like cats and dogs every day, you're always angry, you need to get some help, or that relationship will end badly. Some very seldom does a relationship last 30, 40, 50 years after that kind of trauma. It's the exception to the rule if that does happen. I've heard some people say, you know what, once we finally quit fighting after about 30 years, we started getting along. I don't know that 30 years of trauma and hell on earth is worth it. Why don't we get it over with now and have 30 or 40 years of a future of a successful marriage? Why would we put ourselves through that kind of trauma and hell on earth for the next 30 years when we could get it healed today and have 30 or 40 extra years of peace, love, joy, and harmony in our relationship? Dump the past relational baggage. Talk to your spouse, both of you. The best way, if it's baggage that you can just eliminate, if you can flush it, I recommend you just flush it. Say, hey, what's in the past is in the past. Moving forward, I will never talk about that again. If you can do that, my hat's off to you. Do that. But if you cannot, discuss it with your spouse, and she may want to discuss hers with you as well. You both have to be willing to discuss those in a healthy manner and agree that you are not going to hold past damage against each other. You have to do that. If you always bring up the past every time you get into a heated argument, you're never going to get past it. You've got to put it in the past and make an agreement to never bring it up again, because your success moving forward in your marriage depends on it. You need to be working on your relationship, not dealing with the past relationship. Moving on. Amen. I'm getting a lot of amens and very truths on here. Very good. I love that. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Unwillingness to change bad habits or addictions. Learning to recognize that your man, your husband, has an addiction is very important, and we have them. Okay, men have addictions, and they don't always bring them out to the forefront. You may not know that your husband is suffering from an addiction because he hides it very well. Men who claim to be leaders hide them very well, and when they become out of control and unchecked, they eventually come out to the forefront. It runs rampant in the church. Okay, the church is not exempt from addictions in men and women. Okay, the addictions that are out there start number one, probably with the worst addiction that can happen to men, and that's probably pornography, because men were created to be attracted to women. Okay. So if you're not in a relationship as a young man, the first thing that happens to you is you become subjected to or come across another man's pornography, whether it's a father, an uncle, a friend, someone at school, and they bring pornography. And now that we are in this technology age, your phone, there is pornography available at your fingertips within 30 seconds on your phone for free all day, 24/7, every day. So if you can't learn to keep this in control, stay off the apps you don't need to be on, put blockers on certain apps or eliminate them altogether, you're bound to come into contact with pornography. And that's something you have got to get under control, because your relationship with your spouse, you made a vow before God that you will cleave to one woman, and that is your wife. Now, I have heard it said by numerous women in the past, well, it's just healthy. It's healthy for him to have an attraction to pretty women because that keeps him attracted to me. And I argue with that wholeheartedly. Okay. If all you wait for every year is a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, you probably have a problem with looking at women. Now, let me just say this as a man. Okay. God created us to have a natural attraction towards the opposite sex. That's how we come together. We get married, we procreate, and we populated the planet, right? And it's created in women to have the natural attraction to the opposite sex as well. And when we move on from that, away from that, that becomes abnormal. It's an abnormality, and it becomes an abomination to the Lord. So we have to be willing to move away from the addiction of porn. Now that's one of them, but there are also probably the next biggest one is alcohol. And if we are unwilling to change these bad habits, I don't want to give up my drinking. When I get home every day, I've got to drink a 6-pack just to relax. I need 3 glasses of wine every day just to relax. You have an alcohol problem, and you probably need to get that under control. And it could be a tobacco addiction. It could be a gambling addiction. It could be anything, but anything that is out of the norm can become an addiction. It's a habit of yours. It's something that you don't want to give up. And if you put that habit, that addiction in front of your marriage to your spouse, where do you think that's going to lead you? Probably down a road to unhappiness and possibly divorce, because your wife will put up with it for a while, but if it's left unchecked, it will run its course and it will potentially ruin you. Gambling can cause you to lose everything that you own. So can alcohol, so can tobacco, so can pornography. And it doesn't matter what the addiction is, if you put it ahead of your relationship to your spouse, that's something that you've got to get under control, for you to be able to move forward successfully. And then finally, I want to talk about the last one, and that's called the nothing box. And you might say, "What, Patrick Lee, what in the world are you talking about?" It's the nothing box and how to break out of it. And this one is one of mine. And I named it this because someone else mentioned this to my wife years ago, and she was talking about her husband. And when her husband is mindlessly sitting on the couch or sitting at his desk or sitting in his man cave, just literally doing nothing, she named it his nothing box. And whenever your spouse asks you what you're doing, and you say, "Oh, nothing, just nothing." "Oh, really? What are you thinking about?" "Oh, nothing." And now women are famous for this when you ask them where do they want to eat or what's wrong. And if they ever say nothing, that's exactly the opposite. Okay, so we'll talk about women on another day. When they say nothing is wrong, that means that absolutely something is wrong. But if you ask a man what he's doing, what he's thinking about, and he says nothing, most of the time he means it. And it means I'm really not thinking about anything. I just make so many decisions during the day. I don't want to make any right now. I'm responsible for so many other people. I don't want to be responsible for anything right now. And I am called upon to do so many things during the day. I don't want to do anything right now. So you climb into your nothing box. And what you do when you come home and step into your nothing box, you rob your spouse of you. And your spouse didn't marry you for you to climb into your nothing box and ignore her when you come home. And this is a trait that I have caught myself doing. And it has been a matter of actually joking with my wife. And I'm one of the things I like to do is jump on YouTube. We got rid of cable TV. We got rid of the satellite TV. You pay $100 or more a month for junk, hundreds of junk channels that do nothing but rob you and your spouse of time together. So we have a basic antenna from Walmart, and it gets the local channels and old sitcom channels, Grit, the old Western channels. But for entertainment on TV, I just get on YouTube. I watch off grid videos, how to build cabins, how to mulch property and clear property, how to, the guys that go out and do free lawn mowings for people that are underprivileged or disabled. They go out and mow their overgrown properties for free. And to me, it's mindless but creative, and I don't have to think about it. I can just sit there and watch it and enjoy it. But left unchecked, I rob my wife of time with her. And I will, if I catch myself on YouTube too long, I'll look over at my wife. She's not watching TV with me. She's sitting in the room with me, but she's scrolling through her phone because I'm not giving her attention. And this may be you. I would challenge you today to climb out of the nothing box and climb into the box that she has created around herself, because you have climbed into your nothing box. Why don't you go get into the space with your spouse that you need to be in? Turn off the TV, start talking to your wife. Maybe you need to learn how to play board games or card games. Put some romantic music on Pandora in the living room, and you guys sit at the living room table or the kitchen table and play Uno or Yahtzee or other fun things. Whatever you do, you need to get rid of the addictions that are taking you away from your spouse, the attitudes that are keeping you from enjoying your spouse, and the nothing box that robs your spouse of you, and start spending time with your spouse. I hope this has helped you today. Is there hope for your marriage? Absolutely. There's still hope for mine. I've been enjoying it for 33 years. A lot of people say, "How long have you been married?" And you say, "Happily or unhappily." I've been married 33 years, happily for 32. But actually, most people get a lot of the bad stuff out of the way in the beginning, and go on and have very successful lives. If that's not you, there's still hope for you. If you're in your second or third marriage, there's hope for you too. I know someone right now, I've got a friend that's entering his sixth marriage, and you hope this is the one that sticks, right? Is there hope for your marriage? Absolutely. Get rid of the past baggage, make it a commitment for you to get right with God as a man. And when you are right with God as a man, God will put the right woman in your path. And when she is right with God as well, the two of you and God create the three-stranded cord that cannot be broken. That is my wish for all of you today. Is there hope for your marriage? Absolutely. I hope this has helped you today. There is one last bonus tip, and I've used this and shared this with many people in the past over the years. Your bonus tip is marriage is 100% and 100%, not 50-50. You both have to be willing to give 100% of you to your spouse. At that point, you will move forward in success. Hey, this has been Patrick Lee with Midweek Motivation Live. Until I hear or talk to you again, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.